The views and opinions expressed in the following program are those of the hosts and guests, and not necessarily those of the staff or management of Worldwide Digital Broadcasting Corporation.
Knowledge is power, and this is powerful stuff. Wellness Education Cannabis Advocates of Nevada present the We Can 702 Nevada Cannabis News Hour with the We Can radio team. For the next 60 minutes, we'll take an in-depth look at the cannabis reform revolution sweeping the nation. Now, let's fire up the news hour. Here is the We Can radio team.
Good afternoon and welcome to another edition of the Nevada Cannabis News Hour. I'm your host, Mike McAuliffe. In the studio with me, as always, is my co-host and friend, Perry Haichu. How you doing today, Perry?
Life is good, no complaints.
Life is good, no complaints. We haven't seen a nuclear fallout cloud coming from North Korea yet, so all hopes are good. But in the meantime, we have plenty of warfare going on here in Vegas in many ways. I guess, on that theme, we'll take a first story, which is just something that came out yesterday in the Sun. We've got Chris Kudialis reporting on a letter from Clark County to the marijuana industry. Don't promote public pot use. And I did read this letter this morning and took a look at what they're trying to say. This letter was issued on Monday by the Department of Business Licensing and the director, Jackie Holloway, a friend of the show and wonderful person in general. But in this letter, she's threatening to suspend or take away licenses of dispensaries for any involvement with non-licensed pot businesses or anything that promotes public consumption. And the letter says that we want to write to remind you that public consumption of marijuana is unlawful. The only place in which it is legal to consume marijuana is at a private residence for private use. And the letter says that you can't publicize things like marijuana yoga, swimming, various events, even if the events are held in a private residence. And the letter also goes on to say that pot in tour buses, limousines, various things like that is also unlawful. The Business Licensing Department turned this over for comment to Eric Papa, who is the county spokesman. And he said, we've had several businesses that seem to be involved in efforts to promote public and social consumption. We don't want our licensees doing that. And so they're actually threatening now to suspend or even revoke licenses of MMEs for taking part in private use. And
I'm not exactly sure that's what the people voted for when we were trying to craft these rules and regulations. I know that people want there to be some kind of oversight concerning advertisement and things like that, but it seems as though this goes just a little bit too far with the attacks on these business owners when they're promoting events that are held on private property. That concerns me slightly, because now you're looking at infringing upon the rights of these homeowners to hold these events on their property, which they pay taxes on, which are uninvolved with these various entities. So I'm not exactly sure what the point of that is. If you're not technically promoting public consumption, how are you promoting public consumption?
Well, part of the issue that I have with the county on this is that they're talking about private residence and private use, and as compared to social consumption, as what Mr. Papa is saying. And the problem is, I've looked at that legislation and the statutes. I don't see anything that defines what private use is. Specifically, though, the legislature said that private residences are the spot where people can consume cannabis legally in the state of Nevada. But it doesn't say what private use is, private use, public use, what's social use. Social use seems to be anything to me that is not medical use. And so you can't really say that it's okay for you and me to be at my house and I pass you a joint or a bong. That's okay. However, if we put out the word and invite 100 friends over, then that's suddenly illegal. It does not make sense to me. I don't see how it actually legally holds water on this, and we've got to see where this is going, because too often government agencies at every level make pronouncements and edicts that can kind of stretch the law, and if people do not object, it lets that entity say, well, this is how it is now.
Right.
You know,
I've heard that the county has already slapped the wrist of a couple of these operators for advertising in various what's the word I'm looking for, in ways that they didn't exactly approve of.
Right.
Like there were events that they were promoting, and they're like, hey, you can't do that. They slap them with fines,
that's where they're talking about the yoga
like
and swimming or whatever.
But yeah, it's just like, you know, you're going after yoga and swimming classes. I'm not exactly. I mean, obviously, this means they're not going to be able to advertise at any of the HempFest or HempCons or anything like that. And it's just, I'm just not exactly sure what the potential ramifications are going to be. Like, are they really going to call their bluff? Is someone going to hold them to this and test it, or is everyone just going to back down?
I received an email this morning from someone closely involved with one of these parties, saying that I'm afraid we're going to be raided. I don't really think that is going to happen. I think that if there's any county enforcement, you're going to see it more along the lines of that story we covered several weeks ago about a cannabis church in Colorado, which were holding services, and a couple of undercover detectives managed to wangle their way into it and say, oh, well, we got in, so it's it's public and it's not private. So I can understand that people are concerned anytime you're mixing drugs or herbs and governmental intervention. That's generally not a recipe for a good result. But it will be interesting to see what happens here. I think that we will find that if these events do continue around the valley, and I believe they will, you'll find that the industry is going to be backing off out of any sponsorship or participation.
Oh, absolutely. And let's just hope that the county takes a more lax policy towards some of these private events and allows a little bit of dialogue to go on in between the various entities, rather than just taking the heavy-handed approach. Let's talk about it a little bit.
Well, I can relay that Weekend President Jen Solis and I were in a meeting with Jackie Holloway and Jennifer Weber, the special agent who sent this note out, and they were. They put it strongly that the county commission is not ready for any sort of public use, and they're not there yet, and so the county is saying no way, no how. And that's understandable. And you know, if you're saying that this is promoting public use, to me, it would be a case of a billboard on the strip saying, hey, you know, come on out, get high. Nevada is the place to, you know, forget all your troubles through short-term memory loss or something like that. But when you have people who are seeking out and going to a private residence, then... You mean
like all the Lee's Liquor advertisements that say, you know, I didn't text you, vodka did, or something like that?
Well, the idea that the county is saying that you're not allowed to publicize these events. Commercial speech in this country is still speech that is protected under the First Amendment. There are some limitations as compared with political speech.
Yeah, but I guess that could be construed as them trying to advertise their business, because if you're promoting that, you're promoting your involvement in that. And I think that's kind of where they're trying to draw that line, is they're not just saying come to Nevada, they're saying come to my store, spend money, and then go consume it in public in Nevada.
Yeah, and that would be a different issue. And in the case of parties or yoga or swimming or some of these private dinners where some of the dishes are made with cannabis products, you know, those seem to me to be good private citizen events that the county should not be sticking its nose into.
What about conventions?
Well, what about conventions?
Is that, you know, does that fall
huge
under
business? And I can tell you that I attend any number of trade shows through the year, and I'm not pot shows, I mean,
right.
in
of
other
course,
areas.
Yeah.
And there are always people there who are looking to smoke, looking to score, looking to this. I mean, you can just kind of tell after a while, you know, who might be a user as compared to who's not,
Sure,
or a
of course,
consumer
yeah.
of cannabis
Yeah.
and all. You know, but the point I want to make here is that the county is saying that these pot businesses cannot publicize this. They cannot advertise about this, you know, because they're saying it is unlawful under under state law. And what gets me on that is that on the way here to the studio, and every time I drive through the Central Valley, I see taxi cabs with promises of a girl to my hotel room in 20 minutes, despite the fact that prostitution is illegal in Clark County.
Well, you see, they're not exactly prostituting. It's an escort service and blah, 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 blah. You know what I mean? And there's all these hoops that they're allowed to jump through.
The party organizers aren't putting the joint in the person's mouth and forcing him to inhale either.
No, of course not. Well, you know, that's selective enforcement, and that's the double standard that we're going to face for a long time.
Exactly.
And I'm not, you know, I think that would be a valid point to bring up during, once again, like I was saying earlier, if the county wouldn't take such a direct, heavy-handed approach and have an open dialogue with some of these operators to have a little bit of a middle ground, that could be brought up and we could have this conversation instead of just saying, well, we're going to do this and then we're going to force you to explain to us why we shouldn't have this. Because like once the rule is made, it's hard to get it unmade. It's easier to have a dialogue up front and kind of work to craft that language in the first place correctly rather than have this backpedaling.
I think part of the issue here is that we have one member of the county commission who has already announced his intention to run for governor next year, and another member of the county commission who we're hearing is leaning very much towards doing so, but has not publicly announced. And they're looking at having to get the vote not only in Clark County but up in northern Nevada and with a more conservative base. And I don't know that the Democrats are going to win up there anyway. But you know, this may be factoring into that to some degree. It just doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. I do think that the first court challenge will knock this thing out, but it's a case of who wants to go there.
It's going to take the time. You got to hire the lawyer and jump through all the hoops and go for it, and take the risk, obviously, because you're putting yourself out there at the forefront of something that the county, who controls these restricted licenses, you know, you're thumbing your nose at them basically. So it's dangerous. So
my thought for people who are going to these parties is I don't think that the attendees at these parties are going to be at any risk, providing you follow a few basic rules. Don't be selling, you know, anything to anybody, and don't be bringing along you know, more than you are legally allowed to possess. Because I think if you have undercover officers go into any of these events, they're going to look to give a citation, and the letter did specify citations. It didn't say arrests. It didn't say that there's going to be this massive crackdown. But the thing is, they're going to be looking at those people who are organizing the event, not the people attending. So you know, I don't imagine arrests coming out of any of this unless they're at a situation and they see somebody who has a 5-pound bag of weed in front of them, and well, there you go. In general, I don't think members of the public have to worry about this too much. I don't think if you're having a get-together with friends, even if you publicize it on Facebook or something like that.
Well, because once again, there's a lot of groups out there. There's a lot of independents and a lot of organized groups that are attempting to throw parties and get-togethers and things like that. Now that recreational is here and there is no public consumption allowed, just to be able to go meet up at the park, our only option now is to craft these various parties that are to be held around town to bring the community together, not only to have fun and feel safe together, but to bounce business ideas back and forth. That's networking opportunities. I mean, there's a lot that goes on at those parties just besides rolling joints. Sure. So I'm hoping that these continue and that they continue to thrive.
And the idea that what the county is especially saying here, or essentially saying here, is that, okay, you guys, you won the right to have pot, and you won the right to smoke it, and you won the right to grow some of it if you don't live too close to a dispensary. However, we're still going to stigmatize you. We're still going to try to keep you in that mindset of the lonely person who was doing something illegal for all these years. And even though it's now legal, they're still attaching that stigma.
As we attempt to break into society, they continue to try to shove us out.
It's absolutely crazy. And you know, we'll talk about this in the next segment about a poll that is showing that Americans have moved beyond this. You know, Americans by a wide majority want legalized recreational or medical cannabis.
Well, I hear people online sometimes, they'll jab and they'll be like, well, you know, the news covers this pot crap so much. Don't we have more important things to do? And that's I'm like, exactly.
Yes.
Don't we have more important things to do than hammer the poor potheads? Can't we move on to serious problems? You know, so I could take that exact same, you know, thing and twist it for my own ideas. But anyway, it was
all right. We're gonna take a quick break, and we'll be right back with our next story.
Crazy Terry here with your car care tip of the day. So it's not a bad idea every now and then to check your battery. If you don't know how to do it, have somebody check it for you. Just a visual inspection can tell you a lot about your battery. So as we can see here, this battery's got a hold down. It's nice and tight. The cables are on. They don't look bad. We've got a cover. We don't see any corrosion. Everything's kind of tight, looking good. A little bit of dirt, that's normal, but nothing's leaking, no real cause for alarm here. So that's a good sign. Doesn't mean it's good, but at least visually we know that it's intact. Okay, so we're looking at a battery here that shows signs of corrosion. We want to test that battery to make sure it's good. Usually when they're getting like this, there's going to be a problem, leaking some acid at the top. We ran the test and we find out it has 396 cold cranking amps, but the battery requires 650. So it's just not enough. The battery is going to go soon. Better to know now than later. Okay, so the benefits of checking the cable is because this cable's rotted out. What we'll find is this is the problem, not the battery. So it'll save you from buying a battery, still having the no start, only to find out that it's a cable. This type of corrosion is common in diesels. Okay, so we're getting ready to jump the car, but we have to have some battery cables. And we have to check those too before we hook them up to the battery. So here we have our standard set of battery cables. We just look them over, see if the ends are frayed, if everything's connected all right. Everything looks good here. Wouldn't hurt to check the rest of the cable just to make sure the dog didn't get it and chew it up. We have red and black. Red's positive, black's negative. You always want to hook the positive up first and then the negative. And I'll show you how that's done right now. Keep these off to the side so they're not touching each other. Hook up your positive. You can find that right here by the plus sign, the negative sign. Plus is positive, red. Make sure that's securely hooked up. Keeping these away from each other. Hook up your negative cable. Just got to fight it on there. Figure out a way to get it. Wiggle it a little bit so it ensures a good connection. Now you're transferring voltage. If I hit these two together, we're going to spark. Kind of want to avoid that. Won't kill you. Kind of fun. A lot of people think if they can turn the headlights on, the battery's fine. That's not always the case. It takes very little amperage to turn a light on, but it takes a lot of amperage to start the starter. I recommend checking the charging system every oil change. At Sun Valley Automotive, there's never a charge for that. This is Crazy Terry with your car care tip of the day.
And we're back with the second segment of the Nevada Cannabis News Hour. We're going to jump right into a story about the casino industry, and they're seeking clarity on marijuana rules here in the state of Nevada. They've already made their stance abundantly clear. They don't really want anything to do with it, but regardless, they have a broad customer base who wants to consume. So a trade association that represents casinos across the United States is asking the federal government for a little bit of clarity on rules relating to marijuana finances. Under the Obama-era Treasury Department memo, banks and other financial institutions that serve the cannabis industry must file suspicious activity reports on those clients. Now casinos are asking the Trump administration whether they have a responsibility to file these suspicious activity reports on patrons whose finances are known or suspected to be derived from marijuana-related businesses. Now, we covered a story concerning this a while ago. I forget the gentleman's name.
Isaac Dietrich was the fellow's
He's from
name.
Mass Roots, right?
Yes.
Now, he was banned from the Wynn Corporation, and basically all of their properties because he is affiliated with the marijuana industry. Not that he sells pot directly, but he provides services to the cannabis industry, and they became aware of that. So in response to that, he got upset and wanted to...
He called for a ban on Las Vegas in its entirety.
Yeah, he wants the marijuana industry to boycott Las Vegas until we kind of get our crap together concerning that. And I really hope that doesn't happen.
Well, I'll tell you what. Since that happened, we've been to Champs. there was no effect there.
Right.
There's going to the American Glass Expo the week after that. There's going to be another
MJ
marijuana
BizCon.
business con. Yeah, so I don't think that's going to have a big effect, and I do think it's wrong because you have people like the Maloofs who have always been cannabis neutral, cannabis friendly in their properties, and you have people in other properties who are less welcoming. So I don't think that you can paint the industry and Las Vegas in general with such a broad brush. But it's understandable that these entities, these casinos, want clarification from the federal government.
I didn't realize he was 86. It says here he was permanently banned from gambling, not just banned temporarily.
Not just for that one time.
He was 86 from the. No wonder he was so upset.
Yep.
Okay, oh man,
Yeah.
That's embarrassing.
The thing is, they would still take his money in the restaurants. They would still let him, rent a room there or something, but he can't gamble.
Then what's the point?
Well, yeah, indeed. What is the point? Because getting in the marijuana industry, while it's still federally illegal, is one of the biggest gambles anyone can take in this country.
No doubt.
So he's willing to put it all on the line for that, but the Wynn doesn't want his money. So we'll see what happens. I do get the sense though that if Wynn could legally take it and the other casinos, they would happily accept the money.
Well, I'm not exactly sure how much weight this has. As powerful as the casino industry as a whole is, I feel like the federal government has always kind of turned their nose up at it like it's a piece of bad steak or something. They don't really, as an entity like gambling, they don't really want to deal with it. The casino corporation or industry is mostly a self-regulated industry through the various state control boards, etc. And I'm not exactly sure how much weight this is going to carry. Well, maybe because President Trump had his feet in the hotel, in the casino industry at one point, but I just can't see them saying, "Oh, well, hey, the casino industry wants clarification, so let's go ahead and just make this happen." I mean, of course they're gonna stick to their hard line and say, any involvement in the cannabis industry is bad. So, I'm not exactly sure what good this is gonna do, if any, or maybe if it'll just bring unwanted attention potentially. I'm not exactly sure what the ramifications of this will be.
But to me, this story and the next thing that we're just about to talk about are both indications of larger established industries trying to wrap their head around the new paradigm of legalization and try to figure out what they can and can't do. So I don't think this is a negative thing. We'll see what the government decides on it, but for them asking for clarification, I'm sure they want to take the money if they can. They just
fair point. Okay.
So then into the next piece here, we've got this comes from a website called CDC Gaming Reports. An author, Aaron Stanley, and he's reporting that at a recent gathering, the industry and the gaming industry and regulatory committee are trying to explore the impacts of legalized recreational marijuana. And this was this is from a member of the Nevada Gaming Control Board. And he says that we have existing regulations that talk about impairment from alcohol and gambling, but the statutes and regulations are silent on what happens when the persons might be impaired from marijuana intoxication and continue to gamble. And this is Terry Johnson, who served as the Nevada Gaming Control Board with them since 2012. So,
Well, they do have a code of conduct they have to follow. It is their responsibility to
responsible gaming and
attempt to stop that when they see it. Because this is interesting. I had never thought of this until I read this just now. What will they do about marijuana impairment? If the law is saying we should regulate marijuana like alcohol, does that encompass gambling responsibility? I wonder.
Well, I
I
had read another story unrelated to this, saying where the Gaming Control Board had called up casino operators because there was an instance where it was verified that someone who was visibly intoxicated was allowed to continue to gamble. And you can say,
I suppose,
what's the harm with that? The guy's drunk, he's out having a good time. But really, the games are all about being fair.
Yeah, there's case precedent against that. You can't have someone be so overly intoxicated and continue to allow them to gamble,
because they lose
losses,
whatever sense of
and losses have been given back to some gamblers over that.
So now they're
I wonder
they're
how
saying they need to address that with pot.
Well, if you are an employee, let's say at the MGM Corporation, I'm aware of this because I have a good friend who works for the MGM Corporation who recently got written up over this. If you're in the MGM Corporation, let's say you're a bartender, and a patron walks up to you attending a convention, and they say, look, I want to know where to find some pot, I want to know where to find some girls, I want to have a great time in Vegas. Can you help me?
The concierge, the casino host, and
what the script is prostitution is illegal in the state of Nevada, and marijuana remains illegal under federal law, and we can't help you. And if you continue to ask me these questions, I'm going to have security escort you off property. When in reality, prostitution is legal in the state of Nevada, just not in the county of Clark.
Right.
What you should do is you can go ahead and go to Pahrump, you can call a limo, and they'll bring you right out. If you would like to smoke cannabis, there are a number of dispensaries here in Las Vegas, and
you can get it, but you can't smoke it in your hotel room.
You can't smoke it in your hotel room, but this, that, and the other. But basically what these casino corporations are doing is they're forcing their employees to lie to their clients in order to protect their political stance on this. And how are they going to handle this if they won't even acknowledge that pot's legal to smoke? Well, pot's not legal to smoke, and we don't really want you here, but we feel that you're intoxicated, and now we're not like, I guess what that would possibly lead to is they'll probably ban them from the floor like they did from the Wynn Corporation or whatever. The stance that I've seen them take, it's just a matter,
I read an article a couple of weeks ago from Vice News, which is an excellent website with in-depth reporting about pot and the poker industry. And I hadn't realized. I'd always thought that if you get high, you're going to be looking at the cards and you're not going to make good decisions. I would think it would weaken you. But there are a number of high-profile poker players who, in the article, were saying that pot use in the poker community is rampant, and that for some of these players, they feel that being under the influence to whatever degree allows them to focus and concentrate more on the actual hand, living in the moment as one seems to do when one's stoned, and to be able to really up their level of play. I can't say whether that's
Don't
true or
give
not.
people any ideas. They're going to start drug testing poker players.
There you go. But it is out there, and it's all throughout the industry. I remember a few years ago a very well-known loudmouth in the poker industry did 6 months because somebody asked him to score a little coke for him or something like that, and he did, and it was stupid.
Felony favors.
Yeah, and I'm not naming him because we're not about naming and shaming people on that. But the thing is that if they're now looking at pot in a similar way, then this just does not bode well for the community in general, I think. Because okay, it's one thing to say, cocaine is bad, and so you facilitated this, you're going to jail. But these days, with pot being legal all over the place, how can these guys say, well, we're not going to let you participate in this because we think you smoke pot? It goes back to some of the various sports stories we talk about.
I guess the big that might come down to something as simple as company policy.
It may well.
The World Series of Poker is the main the big event that everyone wants to go to, and I believe that's controlled by the Caesars Corporation.
Yeah.
So it may be up to them eventually.
Harris, I think.
Harris, that's right. No, it's Harris Caesars. They merged.
Have they merged?
Yeah.
Okay.
Anyway,
meanwhile, also in Vegas, we have a story from also
this story's
from the
been
Sun.
developing for a while.
Actually, I've seen it in several spots, but I've got to say the Las Vegas Sun's coverage of the evolving cannabis industry has been really spot on and good stuff, and it is a great source. Also by Chris Kudialis, Tribal Pot Store near downtown Las Vegas aims to be the biggest in the country, and they're saying with 15,000 square feet of retail space, the Nuwa Cannabis Marketplace, located on tribal land, will be the largest standalone retail marijuana facility in the U.S.
Wow.
It's incredible, and it just so happens that I was in this new building this past Monday, taking a look around, and I've also been to Harborside in Oakland. At 12,000 feet, seemed like an incredibly impressive place.
It is. I've also been to Harborside. It seems massive.
And this is 20% more massive than Harborside. They're going to have a 168-foot-long checkout counter featuring 13 point-of-sale locations, which were installed to serve customers directly. Excuse me.
A separate merchandising desk is going to handle credit card purchases for non-consumable weed paraphernalia products such as bongs and pipes. The gentleman characterized the store as a, quote, marketplace, not a dispensary, because of the high volume of customers it is designed to serve. Developers of this cannabis marketplace said they're planning for up to 2,500 customers daily. The hours of operation and opening date will be determined later this month.
Indeed, 2,500 customers a day.
Well, anyone can,
Well, anyone can make projections.
Sure.
But they're building this facility with that kind of size in mind, and they're also going to have this separate area.
Serve 2,500 people. They better be open 24/7, 365.
Well, that's true, but you could also look at it since, as you had pointed out when we were discussing this before the show, that that the tribes are also allowed to sell tobacco products. They're going to have a separate area here for paraphernalia and non-consumable weed paraphernalia products, bongs, pipes, that stuff. But also there is the possibility, I would think, that they could fold their cannabis operations in there, their tobacco operations in there. And so I could see where, to get that 2,500, they might close their old store and just have this new retail facility do both. And it's a beautiful looking building. It's got a great view of the downtown Vegas skyline, and they're moving aggressively. I can tell you, I drove by there just a few months ago, and this structure wasn't there.
Well, there's only 50 or 60 people in that tribe.
56 people in the tribe.
They stand to make a large potential profit off this. I mean, they could do very, very well from this if they play their cards correctly. And I think there will be more people employed at the facility than there are members of the tribe by far. So it's a great thing.
Well, what the local connection there in charge of this product told me the other day is that they've built this facility very quickly within a span of just several months, and they expect to be open very, very soon. And they've got their cultivation facility going up on other tribal land,
right,
not
outside of town,
but they're initially looking at a purchase budget for their cannabis products of $2 to $3 million. I mean, that tells me they are expecting to sell an awful lot of product. So, I mean, if they're getting ready to spend that kind of money just on purchasing their supplies, I think they're going to be a serious player in this industry.
No doubt about it. They have the location too, so.
They do. So the best of luck to the Nuwu Paiute tribe, and the name of the facility will be the Nuwu Cannabis Marketplace, and Nuwu actually in Paiute means the Paiute people. So that's where they're coming up with the name from it. We wish them the best of luck with this, and we will follow up on this story as it further develops. All right, we're going to take another quick break now, and we'll be right back.
My name is Janine Evans, and I am the office manager at Getting Legal, and we help people get their medical marijuana cards. Anyone can be approved for a medical marijuana card as long as they have a pre-existing medical condition. The medical conditions recognized in Nevada include severe pain, severe nausea, muscle spasms, seizures, glaucoma, cancer, HIV or AIDS, and post-traumatic stress disorder. Our staff helps every patient determine before they come in for a visit whether or not they will qualify. We take care of the whole process of getting a medical marijuana card from the state of Nevada from start to finish. Our services include paperwork processing, a physician's visit, notary services. All of our patients pick up their approval letters right here in our office. We make it fast, simple, and easy. During your consultation, we will discuss different products available at the dispensaries, such as edibles, lotions, and concentrates. We will also discuss different ways to medicate, such as smoking or vaporizing. You will receive a separate identification card identifying you as a medical marijuana patient. This is used to enter the dispensaries and only to enter the dispensaries. Every veteran receives a discount off of the full price of their card. We also offer discounts to anyone working within the medical marijuana industry. All you need to do is call 702-979-9999 and a member of our friendly staff will help you schedule an appointment.
And we're back with another segment of the Cannabis News Hour. All right, I don't know whether you've read in the papers or heard on the news in the past few days. There was this big, kerfluffle about the town of Nipton selling itself to American Green, a silly penny company stock in this article here. Although the articles that I saw in the Sun, the RJ and stuff were like, pot company buying California town and going to turn it into a pot oasis and all that sort of stuff. Now, I've got to admit, I don't know a whole lot about Nipton.
I go there to buy my lottery tickets.
I have seen the sign, on the exit as I'm going to L.A. or San Diego or something.
There's nothing out there.
But yeah, they've only got like 20 people living in the town or something.
I can't believe there's that many living there. I mean, there's an old train station.
Yeah, it was an old mining town.
There's a couple of shacks and a trading post where they sell lottery tickets and soda pop, and that's about it.
So anyway, this story comes out of a site called newcannabisventures.com, written by Alan Brockstein, and he's a CFA, and so he's looking at this not from the publicity spectacle that you see in that the company's trying to put forth to the media, but he's looking at the financials here, and he says that one of the trending news stories in the cannabis space this week was the purported sale of the entire town of Nipton, California to a publicly traded company, American Green, which issued a press release on August 3rd. The company plans to develop the town, located, of course, at the border between Nevada and California, into a cannabis hospitality destination following the deal, which was 4 months in the making, according to the press release. And it's an interesting concept in itself. Oh, hey, we're bored here in L.A. Let's go up to Vegas for the weekend. We're going to have a good time. And, oh, look, Nipton, it's a pot heaven. Let's go there instead.
But it's Nipton, and it's not Vegas, and it's not Beach, California. I don't
think you're going to have people driving 4 hours to go to Nipton.
No, and I can't see people driving the hour and a half to go to Nipton from Vegas when we will have all the cannabis we can ever smoke here in town. Yeah. And you can't bring it across state lines. It's not like they're going to be growing cannabis in Nipton and selling it to the Vegas market. I mean, yeah. I don't see it.
No, not at all. They would obviously be selling it to the California
market.
Another
thing is, I don't know how the hell they can afford this. This company
doesn't seem to have money. Yeah.
Right. Well, a lot of these penny stocks companies really don't. I wonder where their revenue is. According to this,
according to this this author, there are several sources that are saying that the purchase price of this town was about $5 million, but there's no official confirmation of that.
Calnev area was for sale also down by Laughlin, and I thought that would be a better buy. It's closer to the river. It's close to 3 state borders. Mm-hmm. There's an airport, an airstrip attached to it, a casino license attached to it. Yeah, but that's whatever.
But anyway, so this company this author said that the media bit hard on this story, but not one writer took the time to discuss the most perplexing aspect, which is how can this company afford to purchase? Because this is a company that has been in the cannabis industry since 2009, and they have cash of about $191,000. They have assets of $2 million. Only less than $300K are current. They've got over $8 million in liabilities, and they've got negative equity, therefore, of about $6.67 million. And they've only generated revenue of about $10,000 year to date. And
so if they don't have any cash, how the hell are they qualifying for a loan?
How are they qualifying to buy, a $5 million,
Well, and I thought banks were so against cannabis investment. Where the hell are they coming up with this money? Is it private? Is it private funds?
Well, I think the interesting thing about this is this is essentially a penny stock, and it's been trading generally near its lows over the past couple of years, and in the couple of days after this story released, there was a huge spike in the amount of shares being traded. There was a huge spike in the price, and now it's falling back. So for me, and I'm not accusing the owners or anybody of doing anything illegal, but pump and dump is certainly something that that is part of the penny stock market, where you pump up a company, prospects with news, and then as soon as the stock price goes up, you dump your shares in it and wait for the stock price to come down.
Isn't that called? Isn't that insider trading? It can be construed as such, depending on how you look at it.
Well, it can be construed as such if you're making your trades before the news comes out. So if you have somebody who were buying a whole bunch of this stock 2 weeks or 3 months before the news came out and then selling it immediately, and they had an inside position, that would be classic inside trading. If, however, you've got somebody who's been holding on to positions for a longer amount of time and waits until after this news comes out to then start actively trading, then that's skirts a finer line there.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
A lot of these things are not only the per se part of the crime, but also the intent.
I'm waiting 6 months from now to see Nipton deal falls through. Or whatever. I
think it'll fall through a lot quicker than that. Actually,
I mean, you remember Faraday? Even
Faraday Futures.
They came in, got a bunch of tax credits, promised all this stuff, bailed. Now the rumor is that they're, doing the same damn thing in California. They went right next door and they're like, oh, we're going to promise you all this stuff and this and that. But there's no public money going into this or anything. Right. But it's just one of those things. Like, man, I just hope that it's not a big scam, and that the investors, whoever they are, don't get taken for a ride.
Yeah, and the thing is, we call this a penny stock. I'm being really generous because according to this CFA,
they're a penny.
This means through the end of August, shares of this company can be purchased for 0.0003 cents per share. So that is 3/10,000ths of a cent per share. So if you want to be part of this pot company that's owning, going to buy this town of Nipton, you can spend $1 and have 333 shares, I think. Oh, 10,000. 3,000. Yeah. 3,330 shares. Wow. That's... People always finding ways to make money off the pot.
Yeah, no kidding. If you're clever and you know the people inside of the company, man, you might be able to make some money. My uncle made a buttload of stock on Aristocrat Gaming a long time ago. They were a penny stock out of California who were making penny slots. Yep. And he was a slot manager, and he ended up, seeing the trends and things like that, bought a bunch of stock and ended up making a ton of money off of them. So, it's not complete bullshit. It's just a matter of luck.
Penny stocks, you can definitely make money on the stocks, but it's a case where there's not as much scrutiny by the SEC and other things, so it's a much riskier.
Like what do they say about those? Terrible for investing, great for trading.
I guess so. So we want to hit another story here, coming to us from the always prolific and great activist Tom Angel, reporting out of massroots.com, and the article is "State Legislators Push Feds to Deschedule Marijuana," and this is really interesting. It's an organization called the National Conference of State Legislatures, and they in a motion that they passed on, so they're making this an actual measure that they support. The Controlled Substances Act should be amended to remove cannabis from scheduling, thus enabling financial institutions the ability to provide banking services to cannabis-related businesses. Without banking operations, cannabis-related businesses are forced to operate exclusively in cash. A large and growing cash-only industry attracts criminal activity and creates substantial public safety risks.
As the number of burglaries in Las Vegas concerning the marijuana-related businesses as of late have shown.
Absolutely true. The NCSL continues in this measure that a cash-only industry reduces transparency in accounting and makes it difficult for the state to implement an effective regulatory regime that ensures compliance.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. That's no doubt about it. A friend of mine works as a delivery driver for one of these grow operations, and he's been telling me about how there have been questions where some of the money's has gone. Hey, do you remember that delivery? Hey, did you pick up that kid? Are you sure you dropped off that cash? And it's like, what the hell do you mean? Are you sure I dropped off that cash? Where's the goddamn chain of custody controls that should be implemented, similar to how a count room does business? Well, you need to have financial professionals in here making sure that gets done correctly.
And it's my understanding that deliveries in Las Vegas, the MMEs that are doing this, can only do a maximum of 10 deliveries per one trip. And so you would think on a single sheet of paper you would be able to have,
No. I'm talking about the big deliveries, like when a cultivator is delivering to a dispensary and the money comes back from the dispensary to the cultivator. Did you make that drop? You sure that drop was this much? Well, what the hell? If
they can't be on top of their money, then they're really in trouble.
Well, that's really scary. You know what I mean? There needs to be some qualities. There needs to be some clarification here, and this starts with this. Real banking will solve all those problems.
Absolutely. And interestingly, this organization last year urged the removal of marijuana from Schedule 1 of the Controlled Substances Act. So in this 1 year, they have gone from that point, rescheduling, to actual descheduling, which is really where it belongs, and which is where, if you have a chance to talk to any of your congressmen, senators, or anything like that, you run into them, that's the point you want to make. Deschedule completely, put it back in the hands of the states, let the states be the social laboratories as the Constitution intended. So that's about all the time that we've got here. We will cover. We've got so many other stories to cover, along with the links on the program. We do have stories that we did not get to, and
once again, last thing, if you're not busy this weekend on Saturday, we have our 9th anniversary pool party. Come on down. We're on TP Lane in the northwest part of the valley. Please check our Facebook page, wecan702.org, or just that's our website, of course, or our Facebook page, and come meet some like-minded people, happy, healthy folks, and thank you all for your continued support in the community.
And the thing is that understand that what we are holding is not a public event. What this is, if you come to this event and you will join WeCan for a trial membership and then come in. So you will come in as a member of WeCan and not a member of the general public, because WeCan has since its inception always tried to work within county and state guidelines and comport with the law. That said, we also want to stand up for the rights of all Americans.
No doubt about it. Well, until next time, thank you all for your continued support. And same time, same place next week.
We're going to continue bringing you the cannabis news you need to know with the context to make you understand it. See you next time.